All right, guys, so I'm sitting in my hotel. I'm out in Dallas. I got a very nice invitation from Nate Diaz. I'm out here for the fight. And when you guys see this, it's going to be just about the time the fight's going on. By the time I get this done and upload, it's about 40 minutes. And stick around. I'm going to bring you a full recap. But there's a lot going on out here. Okay, first off, I mean, this town is popping. This fight is very big, and I must tell you, just from my own perspective, I didn't feel it. I knew there was something going on, but when I tell you I didn't feel it, like, I'm not speaking out of turn. Jake Paul even came out, hey champ. Jake Paul even came out and complained about some of the media, and it turned things. In the last 10 days, this has stolen the headlines. ESPN, by example, jumped in to cover this thing 4 days ago. Put that in perspective for you. Like how hot this thing has got. So I asked Errol about it. Hey, how are ticket sales, right? Very basic question, but your live gate is a tremendous focus group for how things are going to go. And Errol said it's already the second biggest gate in history. That the first biggest gate was the UFC coming here, and combat. They put it in categories, but for combat. First biggest gate was the UFC that played here right after COVID. And already this event was in number 2 and still had some tickets left. High up, and they expected them to sell out. So I get into town. And, when I tell you this place is hopping, I mean, it's like the whole town. If you've ever had the enjoyment of going to Las Vegas on a fight week, you will feel it as soon as you get off the plane. Like, when you go down the escalators to baggage claim in Las Vegas, you will start seeing announcements for the fight. When you get outside to the taxis, by example, they will be covered in the athletes for the fight. You'll really feel it. But this town is like that. This is a big deal. So I get in last minute. I was a last minute invite. Grab my son Thero. It's our first road trip together. And we head out to Dallas. We go right from the airport to the arena. They're going to do the face-offs, also known as what you guys would know as the ceremonial weigh-ins. So they bring us right in the back, and Jake's on one side and Nate's on the other. And, I mean, they got a team with them. You got over 100 guys in total. And you don't see that in MMA. You see that very often in boxing. Like, before a fight, the ring is so full, you can barely spot the announcer. After the fight, the ring is so full, right? You can relate to that. And you can't in MMA. It's a very regulated thing. So I'm just sharing with you, like, it was a very different vibe, but this wasn't a vibe of, hey, I'm here to support you, and the way they do the credentials is different, and so here we all are. They were there like for protection. There was this face off the day before, and some kind of a scuffle breaks out, and it wasn't Nate and Jake as much as it was their teams. And I have to tell you, I didn't see it because I was on an airplane coming out here when the whole thing happened, but I've heard enough about it. I feel comfortable in telling you that. So it was just one of these really interesting moments. And there's nobody like Nate Diaz. I mean, there's no one like him. There's no one that brings an aura, that brings a passion. I mean, Nate has people that are going to be sitting on the edge of their seat pulling for him. And, I mean, they're already talking about rematch. They're talking about doing this again in MMA. They're going to go over to the PFL. I mean, you're hearing all of this discussion, and I will tell you that I don't think that's true. I believe whoever loses this, more than the winner of this contest, I believe that the loser, it's just my belief, but I believe that they will accept the result. And I believe that mainly because that's the way this game is played. We don't play the game and then say, well, if the rules were different. It's one of those things. And I've seen guys do that. I've seen guys, there was an organization called Pride. And Pride had rules that looked like an LA gang riot. You could kick a guy in the head when he was down, just by example. They called it a soccer kick. The guy could be on all fours, completely out of, the referee hasn't stopped it yet. You could be standing up and come and kick his head like it was a soccer ball. I know that sounds really gross. It was the rules, and you could do it. And there was guys that came over from Pride, so all of a sudden the rules are different because it's a sport, at any rate. And then you got the Pride guys saying, well, if I could have soccer kicked him, I would have won. And they looked like fools when they were saying it. Give a damn if you could have soccer kicked him, if you could have let a knife. I'm sure you would have had a different result. It was just a stupid thing to say. And I only share that with you, like, I just don't think that's the direction we're going. I think that this is going to be settled tonight. And by the way, who do you guys think is going to win? I'm pausing. I want you to think about that. There, who's going to win?
Nate Diaz. He's going to knock him out.
Yeah, you're damn right Nate Diaz is going to win.
It doesn't have to be in the first round.
But I share with you that I want to ask you who you think is going to win. And I want to pause. And then I want to tell you something I think you will find surprising, which is Jake Paul is a 5-1 favorite. And that line has moved, like if you go 4 yesterday. He was 4-1 yesterday. They did the face-offs. He moved to 4.5. And he was 5 this morning. And that does not sound right to me. Let me put that in perspective for you. If you ever see a 3-1, 3-1 for perspective is what Islam against Charles Part 1 was. 3-1 is what Islam versus Volkanovski was, even though that turned out to be a very close fight. 3-1 is representative that the bettor not only believes they've got the winner, they believe it's going to be dominant, and it lends towards a finish. 4-1 is telling you you've got a mismatch and we're going to have a finish. 5-1 tells you the commission should not have sanctioned this match. That's a surprise to me. I mean, I cannot possibly disagree with that more. It really, really surprises me. And it's a real credit to Jake Paul. I don't take that away from him. I don't intend at all to insult or put him down. I'm open. We'll be sitting in the DS section. We're invited by Nate. We stand with Nate. But why share with you that we don't put Jake down? That would bring down the victory of Nate. And those odds are stunning to me. You have a young man who has taken the world by storm, for sure. And he is shown to have skills over not one, but multiple world champions who he's beat. And he's got very limited experience to do that. You know, he was going in there with other YouTubers and he was going in there with NBA guys, and he was training twice a day, and he was not sleeping well the night before, and he was cutting weight and doing everything right because that's where he thought he was at. Like there's very few people that are more surprised with the overwhelming natural skill and ability of Jake Paul than Jake Paul, whether he ever tells you that or not. He wasn't fighting those NBA guys to go beat him up. He wasn't doing that to show off, get a mismatch. He thought that's where he was. You're a legitimate athlete, and I'm trying to be, and here we are, and you got to reach, and I got more courage than people know. And I mean, it's really been one of those things. And people betting Jake at 5-1, what else would you bet on him to do? I would just be curious. Let me throw something at you. If I was to tell you that Nate Diaz was going to try out for the United States Olympic team in boxing, Olympic Games are next year, the trials are about 10 months away. If I was to tell you that, I think that you would be very excited. And if I was to tell you that, I think there's a lot of you that would quickly get on the bandwagon and believe that Nate was going to make the team. And there's a lot of aspiring Olympians out there that would start training very differently and swallow real deep. Can we all agree on that? Okay, great. Well, if you believe that, then you believe for sure and without question that Jake Paul would make the team. 5-1. Nate can't even go with him. Nate can't even finish the fight. The commission should not have said, that's what 5-1 says. 5-1 does not sell out an arena. 5-1 does not move the needle. 5-1 doesn't have the second biggest gate in history, but that's where we're at. And I don't dispute any of it. I'm just here to tell you. And as much respect as just came out of my mouth towards Jake and what he's done, I feel he deserves it. As much respect as just came out, you want to know who's not impressed? Do you want to know who does not care about the 5-1? Do you want to know who does not care that he's not done this in Jake's done the last few years? Do you want to know who does not care about the size difference, the youth difference, or anything else you want to bring up? Nate Diaz. I was with him yesterday. I've been with him prior to many fights. It's the same guy. It's the same guy, only a little bit bigger. And that 5-1, real soon, is either going to look like a really good bet or you're going to look a little bit stupid.